Today, we'll discuss the story of two childhood friends who were abducted and overcame all odds to free themselves on their own. It is an American horror film from 2020 titled The Boy Behind the Door. Turn off the light in your room and watch out. Kindly click the like button and subscribe. The movie opens with a car traveling down a rural road. It is discovered that the owner of the car has kidnapped two boys and kept them in his trunk after the car comes to a stop in front of a sizable house. In hushed tones, the boy begs the man to let them go, but he drags one boy out while leaving the other in the trunk. The scene then falls back to 6 hours earlier, when Kevin O'Connor and Bobby Green, the boys who are later revealed to be best friends, are playing in the woods after coming home from baseball practice. Bobby supports the idea, and baby Kevin expresses his desire to grow up and relocate to a place where everything is different and the sun is always shining, like Florida. Kelvin then asks his friend to promise that he won't go without him. Due to their unbreakable friendship, Bobby assures him that he will never leave without him. The boys then throw and catch the ball. Kevin descends the hill to retrieve the ball after Bobby throws it quite far. Bobby goes to check on Kevin. When he doesn't come back for a while, finds the ball, and as soon as he picks it up, someone grabs him from behind, causing him to hit his head on a tree. After managing to free his hands and arms, Bobby calls out for assistance while still trapped in the truck, or the earlier in the movie car outside the same house. But when his calls are ignored, he savagely kicks and punches the truck's door until it opens. Bobby exits the vehicle, exhales, and gathers his breath before starting to run away. However, as he approaches the house, he hears his friend Kevin screaming for help, and he immediately stops. When Bobby is about to run back towards the house to assist Kevin, he is reminded of the promise he made to his friend. Bobby enters the house stealthily and spots the kidnapper watching TV and drinking beer. Bobby tries to quietly go upstairs to look for his friend, when suddenly the man's door is knocked on, forcing Bobby to hide. Bobby sees the kidnapper take a stack of bills from the man outside and give him a watch that is counting down an hour in exchange. The kidnapper then leaves the house in his van, leaving the man in charge, who then goes upstairs to visit Kevin in the attic and tells Kevin to stop crying. Bobby, in the meantime, sneaks upstairs to look for Kevin and hears his voice coming from a vent inside one of the rooms that is only partially obscured by a bookshelf. Bobby moves the shelf and places his ears close to the vent. He quickly determines that Kevin is with the man who shouts at him to stop crying. The man's loud voice startles Bobby, causing him to accidentally knock a paperweight off of the bookshelf. When the man hears the commotion and rushes outside to investigate, Bobby is forced to hide. Bobby tries to unlock Kevin's locked attic, but is unsuccessful. When he turns around, Bobby sees the man. The man follows Bobby back into the room, where he hides in the closet. When the man opens the closet, Bobby hits him with a stick and exits the room. However, Bobby discovers himself locked inside the house, and the man quickly gets up and corners Bobby in the kitchen, refusing to give up. Bobby throws a jug of hot water over the man's face and then arms himself with a knife, threatening to stab him. The man tries to snatch the knife from Bobby, but instead cuts open his own hand. Furious, the man then tries to lunge at Bobby, but ends up tripping on the wet floor and knocking himself out. Bobby returns to the man's body and takes the keys out of his pocket. He tries to open the attic with the keys, but they don't work. So Bobby decides to take the man's car to bring help. The baby manages to start the car, but he doesn't know how to drive it, and he ends up losing control. The car starts rolling down the slope, and Bobby is forced to jump out of the car to save himself. Bobby returns inside and looks for keys in the storeroom. He comes across a dusty old truck, inside of which he finds children's clothes, stained with blood. Bobby also finds an old-school rotary telephone and rushes upstairs with it. He asks Kevin for help, and the latter suggests that he find the plug where the telephone fits. Bobby grabs the phone's wire from the dusty chest and frantically searches for the phone's plug. He eventually finds it next to the TV, but it doesn't work. Bobby ignores the watch on the man's wrist and dials 911. As he describes his situation to the 911 operator, a car pulls up outside. Meanwhile, Kevin breaks his fingernail trying to open the ventilation grate. Fearful, Bobby hangs up and runs for cover, thinking the kidnapper has come back. And he goes upstairs to look for Kevin. Bobby comes back to the kitchen and drags the creeps outside. He then cleans up the blood in the kitchen to hide when the kidnapper comes back to the kitchen. Bobby quickly hides under a bed after seeing the kidnapper place the money the creep gave him in a hidden safe after the kidnapper enters the shower. Bobby opens the safe and finds money, another key, and nude photos of other kids inside. Frustrated, Bobby tries to open the attic with a new key, but it doesn't work, and he ends up slicing his hand and, unknowingly, leaving a smear of blood on the door. When the kidnapper comes out of the shower, he notices the blood and realizes Bobby is in the house. He quickly opens the attic and appears to knock Kevin out. Bobby once more hides under the kidnapper's bed. Bobby hides in the shower after realizing he has been exposed. However, when the kidnapper finds him and tries to use an axe to force his way into the bathroom, Bobby becomes terrified and begs the kidnapper to leave. The kidnapper attempts to open the door after drilling a large enough hole in it, but Bobby cuts his hand with a nail file, forcing the kidnapper to withdraw. Bobby attempts to draw the attention of the police as they arrive outside. Bobby's captor locks him in the bathroom and cranks up the TV to drown out his screams before answering the door. And lo and behold, the kidnapper is a woman. She introduces herself as Mrs. Burton to the police officer, who asks her about the distress call, and she denies knowing anything about the kidnapping. The policeman notices the cut on Mrs. Burton's hand and asks her to show her ID. Mrs. Burton goes back inside to get her ID, but when she refuses to return, the police go inside and realize Bobby is inside. However, before the officer could help Bobby, he is struck in the chest with an axe. Bobby immediately runs upstairs, and Mrs. Burton follows him. She knocks down the shower door with the axe, suspecting that he is hiding inside, but in vain. Annoyed, she pulls out the policeman's gun and returns downstairs. She finally notices the creep's body and follows Bobby down to the basement. While looking for him, she explains that she expected him to suffocate in the trunk. She tells him that since Kevin means so much to him, she is willing to go trade Kevin for him to her customers. While she is still reeling from the blow, Bobby suddenly shows up and attacks her, handcuffs her to a pipe, and steals her keys. When she has recovered, the kidnapper tries to shoot Bobby with her free hand, but she manages to hit him in the leg, allowing him to make his way upstairs, slowly. When Bobby is finally able to open the door, he discovers Kevin, unconscious in the attic, with a shock collar around his neck. It appears that the kidnapper tied the collar around Kevin's neck after she found Bobby's body. When Bobby wakes him up, Kevin recoils in horror, thinking Bobby is the kidnapper. Bobby consoles him and releases him using the key he discovered in the safe with the pictures. The boys return downstairs, but Kevin is stopped by a shock collar. Bobby orders Kevin to stop before rushing back to the basement to look for a tool to free him. Bobby discovers a pair of professional pruning shears in the basement, but the kidnapper still grabs him by the leg and inserts her finger into his wound. Bobby screams in agony and is finally able to free himself by chopping off her finger with the pruning shears. But he is now too weak to make it back upstairs and sits outside the garage, sobbing in pain. Concerned, Kevin fights his way down to Bobby, suffering multiple shocks along the way. He removes the collar using pruning shears and tends to Bobby, who tells him to leave. Bobby's leg is treated for injuries by Kevin after he helps Bobby to the officer's car and calls for assistance over the radio. The kidnapper, meanwhile, escapes from the basement and finds the boys, angry with Bobby for chopping off her finger. She drags Bobby outside and starts to kill the baby with an axe. But Kevin stuns her with an officer's taser before she can finish him off. The boys flee to the woods, but the kidnapper pursues them and eventually corners them before a police officer shoots her dead. Kevin and Bobby receive medical attention and are later taken home. A few months later, they are discovered on the Florida beach, where they had stated they wished to travel. If you've watched this video, you're awesome. If you want to see more movie recaps like this, click the subscribe button to become a part of our family.